Senator Ken Conrad is joining us, and he's been our guest on occasion as we continue to work through this process. And you certainly have a lot of work ahead of you, Senator, so we appreciate you joining us again today.
You bet. Good to be with you.
Secretary LaHood just gave us one example of something that happened during this debt ceiling debate. The layoff of certain workers for the FAA and the halting of construction projects. That's just one thing that's happening because we're up against this deadline for the debt ceiling. Just starting broadly here for our viewers, what is the one thing that every American should know today about the state of the debt crisis negotiations?
I think it's important to understand that a process has to be gone through here. There has to be, I know this sounds crazy in many ways, but deadlock before you can achieve the breakthrough. In other words, both sides have to see that their favored proposal cannot succeed before you get to final agreement. We're coming much closer to that. Speaker Boehner's plan may or may not pass the House. I assume it will, but it will fail in the Senate. Senator Reid has a plan here, but I think it's likely that at this moment that won't get cloture, won't get 60 votes.
Are you in favor of Senator Reid's plan, sir?
Let me just, certainly I am. Then we will get to a final negotiation. And let me just say, behind the scenes, there are discussions underway to find a way forward to how would you harmonize what Leader Reid has come up with and Speaker Boehner has come up with. And I increasingly am of the view that we can do that. That's good news.
So in the Washington Post, let's talk about this deadlock that you mentioned, the necessary deadlock, you say, in order to reach an agreement. Mohamed El-Arian, one of the most respected investors and CEOs in the world today, heads the largest bond firm, had a description of what's happened so far. And this is what he says. I'm going to paraphrase some of it. He says, in this political mess, already weak business and consumer confidence is being dealt a further blow. He says companies have an excuse to keep cash on the sidelines. Foreign companies are nervous because they built factories here in the United States, and our U.S. dollar is, of course, the reserve currency in the international markets. Why is political deadlock worth all of that?
It's not, of course. I'm talking about reality. The reality is both sides have to see that their favored position cannot prevail. It's at that point that you can reach a principled compromise. And we're not quite there yet, but we're very close. And, you know, that will, if we can reach agreement, that will avert the kind of long-term damage that he is referring to.
And is the deadline of August 2nd necessary? Is that why either side hasn't seen that their way forward isn't going to work? That we haven't had mass hysteria in the markets? Do you need to see that effect? And this is just a reality question. Do we need to see that type of effect before there's the urgency and the fear to actually get something done?
Well, I certainly hope not. I hope that the leadership here on both sides, and so far from what I've seen, they absolutely understand the catastrophe that would occur if we defaulted. And in the public mind, August 2nd is the date. So I believe it is critically important that we achieve the breakthrough before then. I believe now we're on a path to do that. But obviously, you know, many is the slip between the cup and the lip. I can just tell you that after both sides see their preferred position will not prevail, that will be the key moment. And there's a lot of work going on for that key moment.
It's been said, and we haven't had a direct comparison of both bills from Reid and Boehner. We know that Boehner's bill is going to be voted on today. Reid, we expect to present his bill in the Senate. It's been described as very similar bills, so similar, in fact, that there should be common ground to be found. My question to you, Senator, you're against the Boehner bill, but you're for the Reid bill. So what's the key difference that makes you for the Reid and against the Boehner?
Oh, that is an excellent question. I'm very glad you asked it because that really does get to the heart of it, doesn't it? The two are in many ways very close. Reid's has somewhat more deficit reduction than does the Boehner approach, but the fundamental difference is this. The Reid approach is one step, one vote that extends the debt limit through the end of next year. The Boehner approach is a two-step approach requiring a second vote. The problem with putting the two together is with Reed, with one step, you got to find a way of assuring that the savings, the deficit savings, will actually occur after you've extended the debt limit. In the Boehner approach, that's two steps, you have to find a way to assure that there will be an extension of the debt limit past the end of next year. Mm-hmm. So that's the fundamental difference between the two.
Is that
one step or two steps?
One step or two steps. Some say that the reason why Democrats are for the Reed bill, though, is that it would extend that debt ceiling vote to past election time. And that's a political strategy and a political posturing. Is that the case?
Look, I think what most people who are market observers would tell you is we really don't need to go through all of this uncertainty another time and in just a few months. All of the negatives that you were referring to from the biggest bond trading company in the world telling us that the uncertainty causes problems. Indeed, it does cause problems. The problem with the Boehner approach is it's two steps. It goes through the whole uncertainty another time in just a few months. So the key here is, if it's going to be one step, as the Reed approach proposes, to find a way to get an assurance that the deficit savings actually occur. And that's work that's going on right now, to be able to assure everyone, the markets, our colleagues, the American people, that we're going to have deficit savings of a significant proportion.
When do you expect the Gang of Six, which you're a part of, which has further deficit reduction that touches things that are very sensitive, like entitlements, like some tax relief, when do you expect to have an actual bill to vote on?
I've just come from a meeting of the Group of Six. We have a draft. That draft is being worked by the staffs of all the members, and we're going to be prepared to be a part of the solution.
We look forward to discussing that more with you, because despite what we're talking about with the debt ceiling and this debt reduction plan, there's still that question about a downgrade of our credit, and a further deficit reduction plan might and most likely will be needed, according to analysts. So this is valuable information you're giving us today, Senator. Thank you so much for joining us again.
You bet.